The king of musical instruments is undoubtedly the piano. This is due to its incredible tonal range and versatility. It's also the most popular instrument, having more than 21 million Americans that play it. Today's video will be centered around Sergei Rachmaninoff, who got himself believed to be the greatest pianist who ever lived among millions of piano players. He was not only a virtuoso pianist, but also a Russian composer and conductor. He was well accomplished in all. If you're interested in knowing all the details about his incredible life, then this video is all you need. Before I dive into it, please hit the subscribe button to this channel so you can get notified when other amazing videos like this are released. Sergei Rachmaninoff was born on April 2nd, 1873, into a wealthy, noble family. He was the fourth of 6 children. His father was a retired army officer and his mother was the general's daughter. Sergei was the grand definition of a child whose destiny was set in stone right from his birth. He was bound to be an army officer until his father lost a family fortune in risky financial ventures and then abandoned the family. He studied music from the age of 4 with his mother. While learning music from his mom, young Sergei's cousin Alexander Solody, who was a well-known concert pianist and conductor, took notice of his enormous talent. He then suggested sending him to the revered pianist and teacher Nikolai Zarev in Moscow for his piano studies. Unknown to Sergei's cousin, the random suggestion he gave will serve as the platform for extreme greatness for the young Sergei. Nikolai Zarev, whom Sergei started learning piano studies from, was a very strict disciplinarian. He showed very strict disciplinarian measures, but also proper guidance to him during his piano studies. He also enrolled at the Moscow Conservatory for his general education and theoretical music subjects. During his student years, he was constantly amazing his teachers with his jaw-dropping ability as both a pianist and a composer. He was known as a phenomenal student. Sergei Rachmaninoff made his debut at the age of 18 when he created a storm with his first piano concerto. It was an incredibly accomplished work, worth his title as the greatest pianist of all time. At the young age of 19, he graduated from the conservatory. He also released his one-act opera, Aleko, at the same age which he won a gold medal for. Sergei seemed unstoppable, composing a great number of impeccable pieces, including the Prelude in C-sharp minor, which is considered among his best works. He was highly praised by Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, who promoted Sergei's opera to the Bolshoi Theater when he was just 20 years of age. He thought everything would work out perfectly for him, but he had no idea how wrong he was. In 1897, when Sergei was about 25 years old and released his first symphony, it could only be described as a complete disaster. It was nicknamed the Drunken Premiere, performed under the lead of Glazunov, who was at best incompetent and, according to some, drunk. His first symphony was torn apart by numerous critics and was never again performed during Sergei's life. His first symphony's failure, along with distress over the Russian Orthodox Church's pressure on his marriage, caused him to suffer from severe depression. Due to all this, Sergei's career was interrupted for 3 years. He was subject to emotional crises, self-doubt, and uncertainty. This continued till he sought medical help from a psychiatrist, Nikolai Dahl, who is credited with having restored the young man's confidence. Upon his recovery, Sergei made an impressive comeback with his brilliant second piano concerto, which is known as the greatest ever written. Its subsequent use in the film Brief Encounter has made it a constant favorite. He followed this composition up with successful concert performances. It was after his comebacks that Sergei made the astonishing announcement that he was marrying his cousin, Natalia. This caused a big stir because in Russia, cousins aren't allowed to marry each other. But they got married anyway, and a year later, when Sergei was 30 years old, they had a daughter. Due to his wonderful conducting skills, Sergei was appointed principal conductor of the Bolshoi Theater a year after his daughter's birth. He worked there for only 2 years due to political reasons. Due to the Russian Revolution, Sergei, along with his family, relocated to live in Dresden. It was there he composed his second symphony, which was an uphill task for him after his first symphony's failure. However, it was a resounding success and remained one of his most popular works. He also composed the symphonic poem The Isle of the Dead and the Piano Concerto No. 3 in D minor. Piano Concerto No. 3 was composed specifically for his tour in the United States. It is a testament to Sergei's virtuosic talents, with the brilliant bravura section in the final movement. He was even offered the position of permanent conductor of the Boston Symphony, but he declined. Sergei also composed a choral symphony, The Bells, during his concerts. He considered it to be the best of his works. Sergei was someone who loved peace. 2 years after he released The Bell, he wrote the chorale music All Night Vigil, which contained 15 anthems expressing a plea for peace at a time of war. The Russian Revolution and the destruction of his estate forced him to immigrate. Sergei left Russia on an open sledge carrying only a few books and sheet music. He relocated to the United States, where he kept performing at concerts. His concert performances were nothing short of legendary. He was a highly regarded pianist with unmatched power and expressiveness. His compositions were distinguished by unusually broad chords and deeply romantic melody lines. Aside from his compositions, he frequently performed works by Ludwig van Beethoven, Frédéric Chopin, Franz Liszt, and Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. The Soviet Union banned his pieces due to a letter he signed in 1931 condemning the Soviet regime. His songs were tagged with a scary warning: "This music is by a violent enemy of Soviet Russia, Rachmaninoff." However, the official censorship in the Soviet Union could not stop the popularity of Sergei's music in the rest of the world. During the 1930s and 1940s, he remained one of the highest-paid concert stars. Apart from his love for music, Sergei was someone that also loved fast cars, buying himself a new car every day. He was also an extremely generous person. Some of his generous acts include when he gave away $5,000 to Igor Sikorsky to start an American helicopter industry, when he paid for Vladimir Nabokov and his family's relocation from Paris to New York, when he sponsored Michael Chekhov and introduced him to Hollywood. He also gave numerous charitable performances and donated large sums of money to Russia fighting the Nazis during World War II. During the later years of his life, he missed Russia and the Russian people, whom he described as a sounding board for his music. And his previously prolific creative abilities suffered as a result of his annihilation. He produced little that was truly original, but he rewrote some of his earlier work. Symphony No. 3 in A minor, another expression of somber Slavic melancholy, and the Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini for piano and orchestra. A set of variations on a violin caprice by Nicole Paganini are his only significant works from this period. Sergei's last major work, the Symphonic Dances for Orchestra, was composed 2 years before his death. Sergei died 4 days before his 70th birthday on the 28th of March, 1943 in Beverly Hills. It is undeniable that Rachmaninoff was a musical generation steward and a late Romantic era genius. His body of work is among the best composed and remains some of the most practiced to this day, thanks to his unrivaled technical abilities and rhythm. He died of an aggressive form of melanoma. Sergei was laid to rest in Kensico Cemetery in New York after his death. After his death, the popularity of Sergei's works among both musicians and audiences has increased since the second half of the 20th century. With some of his symphonies and other orchestral works, songs, and choral music recognized as masterpieces alongside the more familiar piano works. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, click on the like section, and drop your comments in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.